wanted to take a moment to talk to you a little bit about a very interesting conversation I had with a new client, and it is my hope that what I shared with her is a blessing to you. She is 30 years old. She has been dating a guy for 2 years. He is 39. She says they have a great relationship, and they've been talking about marriage and recently have spent the last 6 weeks in premarital counseling. They're thinking about getting engaged. She said everything is going great. So I said, what's going on? What can I help with? She said, well, in her last pre-marriage counseling session, the counselor asked them who is going to be the leader in the marriage. And before I share what she said and what I said, let me say this. This video is not for people who don't believe in gender roles, who don't believe in the power of spiritual authority, submission the right way, submission in a relationship that goes from both a man to a woman and a woman to a man. If you don't believe in any of this, then none of this video is going to make sense. When she asked that question, the gentleman, her boyfriend, spoke up and said, I'm going to be the leader. And he said, because that's the way I was raised, that the man leads, he's in charge, and he is the one that should be out front. She said she did not have a problem with the answer, but she recalled a conversation that they had recently. I said, what was the conversation? She said, well, when they got off of that call, she told him, they had a brief talk, and she told him, she said, listen, I don't have a problem with you being a leader. But when we had a conversation about finances, I asked you, how would we handle and manage finances in the relationship? And you said that we were going to split 50-50. I said, interesting. I said, did you agree with that? She said, no, it didn't, really settle with me. But if he wanted to split 50-50, I was willing to do that. But in my mind, if we split 50-50 on one thing, we split 50-50 on everything. Let me say this to all of you, and especially to you men that are tuned in. It is so important that you recognize that leadership is not limited to just one thing. Leadership in a relationship is inclusive of all things. I asked her, I said, do you know what a helpmate is? She said, yeah, I've heard that term in church. I said, what did you hear? What did they say? She said, well, it is the role of a woman to assist a man in the context of a marriage. I said, that's true. I said, but let's go a little bit further. If my 2 children assist me with cooking dinner, what are they doing? She said, they're helping you cook dinner. I said, yeah. I said, but are they cooking the whole meal or are they doing a part of the meal? She said, probably a part. I said, right, to the extent that they are just doing things here and there, but they're not fully in charge of the meal. Who's fully in charge? She said, you are. I said, perfect. I said, if you are paying half of the rent, half of the utilities, half of all the bills down the middle, you are not a helpmate, you're a roommate. She paused, looked at me. She started to tear up. I said, what's wrong? She said, nothing's wrong. I'm not offended. She said, you're correct. I said, have you ever had a roommate in college? She said, ironically, yes. I said, was it an apartment? She said, yeah. I said, how did the bills work? She said, we split everything. I said, and who did you feel like your roommate was in charge of the place or you were in charge of the place? She said, I felt like we were both in charge. I said, exactly. I said, marriages don't work the same way. Fellas, let me say this to you. And I want to be as brutally honest and kind, but honest as I can. Fellas, if you are not prepared to lead a woman in everything, you're probably not prepared to lead her in anything. What is so unfortunate about this time that we live in now is that there is this narrative that men should be leaders. And I believe that. I believe there's nothing more powerful than a masculine man and a feminine woman connected together who are both healed in that, who understand spiritual authority, because that's important, who vibe with one another, because then roles become so much more natural and less about job descriptions, if that makes sense. But fellas, hear me clearly. If you are not prepared to cover everything or mostly everything in that relationship, you're probably not prepared to lead her. Now, I know this probably won't make sense to a lot of you, but I'll put it to you this way. If you pull a woman out of her mother's or father's house or out of her environment, say she has her own place, she has her own properties, things like that, and you pull her out of her place. And let's say, you all have a baby. I asked her, I said, do you all have kids? She said, no. I said, have you all talked about having kids? She said, yes. I said, perfect. What's going to be your plan after you have kids? Are you going to want to stay with that kid for a while, or you want to go back to work or do whatever you do? She said, I'm going to naturally want to stay. It's my first child. I said, exactly. So financially, you all probably need to be in a place where things are covered so you can do that, correct? She said, yeah. Fellas, if you are not able to cover at least 51% of the bills, you're not leading that household. It doesn't make you less of a man. It doesn't mean that you don't have value. It simply means you're not in full authority and full leadership. I don't care if the percentage is 51 to 49. I don't care if the percentage is 70 to 30. In my mind, I shared with her, a man should at least cover the rent, the utilities, especially if they're significant, car notes, things like that. The woman can cover other little bills that may not be as significant. If you all go on trips, vacations, whatever you want to call them, that gives her the great opportunity to invest into you and to y'all. I know situations that work perfect where the woman will pay for those vacations fully and pay for everything, first class tickets, all of that. It balances out and you end up taking care of one another. She takes care of the food. She takes care of other things around the house. It all balances out. But the stress of that house financially should not be on the woman, because if you're going to lead the house, you are supposed to cover her, not just physically. You're supposed to cover her emotionally, mentally, financially, and spiritually. And until then, she's not your helpmate. She's your roommate. I hope this made sense. If it did, type church in the comments with 3 R's. And remember, you've got 2 jobs. 1, be better today than what you were yesterday. And 2, don't forget what I told you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Zeb. Listen, one of the things that I tell clients in nearly over 40 countries around the world is that the universal language of humanity is healing. It doesn't matter what language you speak, doesn't matter what culture you come from, or even the religious practice in which you engage. At the end of the day, we all experience pain the same and we all bleed the same. And because of this, one of the things we share in common is this need to be healed. That's why I'm spending the months of November and December helping people around the world learn to master the art of healthy grieving and the art of learning how to let go. I've talked to my team and said, listen, I want to focus on these things because this is the time of the year where I'm the busiest, where people are really stressed out, filled with anxiety because they're grieving losses related to divorces, breakups, financial challenges, job transitions, even the loss of loved ones. And the holidays can tend to bring out unhealthy sentiments that cause us not to be able to enjoy the holiday season. But I want to help you through this. And I've dedicated my November and December to exactly that. I'm going to have workshops on the art of healthy grieving and letting go all in one, as well as small group sessions of no more than 12 for those of you that love the power of community, that want to work with other people to come up with some quick solutions to some of the challenges you're grieving through this holiday season. Listen, check out the links in my description as well as bio, and let me help you work through this grief and learn how to let go so that you can enjoy your holiday season to the best of your ability. Listen, you've got 2 jobs. 1, be better today than what you were yesterday. And 2, don't forget what I told you.